Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Draw Step. It's that time of week again where I come at you with a brand new deck build. Quick question for you. Do you want all of your friends to absolutely despise playing Commander with you? Because let me tell you, if you do, I have probably the most toxic deck I have ever built. And that's coming from a man who has created a lot of very toxic decks that I have put on this channel. This deck blows them out of the water. Now, to be clear, this goes against pretty much every Rule 0 that you are ever going to come into. I would not recommend taking this deck to your normal, game store. I would not recommend playing this with the average person. If I were you, I would only play this deck if you want all of your friends to absolutely despise you. That being said, who are we working with? I'm glad you asked. The commander for today is not who you would consider to be a traditionally toxic commander. Our commander is Roxanne. Look at Roxanne. You gotta love Roxanne. Roxanne is adorable. Roxanne Starfall Savant, my apologies, is a 4/3 cat druid for 5 mana. So she is a little pricey. But when Roxanne enters the battlefield or attacks, you create a tapped, colorless artifact token named Meteorite. And I actually have a Meteorite laying around. Now, what Meteorite does is it deals 2 damage to, when it enters, it deals 2 damage to any target, and you can tap to add 1 mana of any color. So a Meteorite really is a better treasure token. Like a treasure token, it produces any color, but unlike a treasure token, it deals damage when it enters, and you don't have to sacrifice it to use it, so it sticks around, so it's repeatable. Love that. Now, on top of that, it says whenever you tap an artifact token for mana, add 1 mana of any type that artifact token produced. So, what are we doing here? When she enters or attacks, she is creating something that is basically tapping for double mana. So that is a very strong effect. And most Roxanne decks that you come across are going to be really leaning into like treasure tokens or, making those sorts of, artifacts that you can tap for mana, artifact tokens that you can tap for mana. And don't get me wrong, that is very strong. That is probably the most strong way to use Roxanne. But we are not here to make the strongest Roxanne deck. We are here to make our friends dislike us, truthfully. So what are we doing? What are we doing with Roxanne? We are really building a land destruction deck. That is what's happening here. This entire deck, this entire strategy revolves around destroying all of our opponent's lands. So, Roxanne, the very friendly looking cat that we have over here, when you set her down, all of your opponents are going to think, okay, I'm dealing with a token deck. Psych! You're actually dealing with a land destruction deck. Let's dive in. First and foremost, we have our basic lands. We have quite a few basic lands. We do have a few non-basic lands. The first of which is an Encroaching Wilds, which taps for colorless, but then you can also tap to destroy non-basic land. Sensing a theme yet? Slagwood's Bridge. Taps for red or green, but it's also indestructible, which can be good because sometimes some of our lands may get targeted for destruction, so it's nice having an indestructible land. Same could be said about Darksteel Citadel, which is also an indestructible land. I believe those are all my indestructible lands, but I also have Dust Bowl, which you can tap, sacrifice a land, and destroy a target non-basic land, so some more destruction there. And Knotwood Slumber Mound. You can pay 6 mana in total, tap, sacrifice it, and destroy target land, and you get a 4/4 Troll Warrior creature token with trample. So you get to destroy a land and get a creature. Memorial to War, tap, pay 5, sacrifice it, and destroy target land. And then last we have Drown Your Temple. Taps are colorless, but then we can pay 3 and return it from the graveyard to the battlefield. So that is a way that if it gets destroyed or if we have to sacrifice it or what have you, we can bring it back to the battlefield and keep playing with it, which is very nice. Now, the other part is because there is so much land destruction in this deck, we do not want to lean too heavily into relying upon lands for our mana because they're mostly just going to get destroyed. And that's why, again, Roxanne is so powerful because she's creating those alternate sources of mana so we can keep our gameplay going even when we're just, doing the resource denial of our opponents. But as far as other permanent ramping, we have a Soul Ring because every deck should have a Soul Ring. Glittering Stockpile, which taps for 1 red, but that can also store up and create more red over time. Well, actually, I should say X mana of any one color where X a number of stash counters on it. A Mind Stone, which taps for 1, but you can sack later. Fiendborn Elves, you could use what's that one elf? There's a lot of 1 mana mana dorks that tap for mana, so plenty of things you could replace that with, but that's the one that I am using. Cultivator's Caravan taps for 1 mana of any color, but then you can also accrue it and turn it into a 5/5 creature. Dreamstone Hedron, which costs 6 to lay, taps for 3. Arcane Signet, pay 2, taps for any color of our commander. And then last, we have Pyromancer's Goggles. Now, this is very expensive for a mana rock. It's 5 mana and adds 1 red. However, when the mana is spent to cast a red instant or sorcery spell, copy that spell and choose new targets for the copy. That is great with our land destruction because a lot of our land destruction is kind of pricey and slow. So being able to use that to copy it and destroy multiple lands at once, that's a very nice effect. Then, moving on, we have some card draw so we can keep our engines going. Basically, once we're up and running, we want to keep our hand full of cards, full of options to take out our opponent's lands. For 2 mana, we have Tormenting Voice. You got to discard a card and then draw 2 cards. Similarly, we have Thrill of Possibility, where you discard a card, draw 2 cards. Harmonize, 4 mana, draw 3 cards. And then last, we have Seize the Spoils, discard a card, draw 2 cards, but then also create 2 treasure tokens. So again, keep in mind, with our commander, those 2 treasure tokens now net us a total of 4 mana. So we are, with that Seize the Spoils, we are getting 2 cards, or 1 in a swap, and we're netting a mana out of that. So that is an incredible trade-off. Speaking of treasure tokens, we do have some of that in there to get that additional value from our commander. We have Stormkiln Artist. He gets +1/+0 for each artifact you control, which will be gaining quite a few of those, because he also says when you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, create a treasure token. That is very nice. We are going to be doing a lot of instants and sorceries as we're taking out our opponent's lands, so we're now also netting back 2 mana basically with those treasure tokens, and it's making this guy even larger. Speaking of treasure tokens, we have Hoarding Ogre. Sorry, that was hard to say. When it attacks, roll a d20. 1 through 9, you get create a treasure token. 10 through 19, you get 2 treasure tokens. And number 20, create 3 treasure tokens. That's pretty nice. That's great value. Gold Lust Triad. It's a 5 mana 4/3 flyer with Myriad. So when you attack, it creates a copy to attack your opponents or your other opponents. And when this creature deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. So again, more repeated treasure creation. And since it's a flyer, you should be able to swing through. It's a little bit more aggro. It can help you win games. It can help you win games. I have to say this multiple times because my editor hates this deck and is under the impression the only way you can win with this deck is to make your opponent scoop, which, to be fair, most of my wins from this deck have come from my opponent scooping because they just despise having all of their lands destroyed. But there's other ways to win. Trust me. Speaking of other ways to win, or at least speeding things up, we have Descent into Avernus. Ever since this card has come out, I've loved it. Any chance I can throw it into a red deck, I love to. And in this deck, it just makes so much more sense because of our commander. What does it say? 3 mana. At the beginning of your upkeep, put 2 Descent counters on Descent into Avernus. Then each player creates X treasure tokens, and Descent into Avernus deals X damage to each player where X is the number of Descent counters on it. So what it's doing is it is constantly burning our opponents. It's burning us too. It's burning everyone. Everybody is steadily losing more and more damage, but then also getting those treasure tokens. And yes, you are helping your opponents. You are giving them that extra mana, but you are giving yourself twice as much because your treasure tokens tap for more. So at the end of the day, they're taking the same amount of damage, but you're getting more value out of it, which is definitely a win. And then our last of our value pieces, we have Panharmonicon, which doubles when our commander enters. We're now getting 2 meteorites out of that. And also when it says when our commander attacks, we also get a meteorite. And that is when those meteorites enter, they normally do 2 damage, but that's a triggered ability, so you would get to do more damage. So it is very nice doubling those triggers there. Next, we have a few random pieces to help with keeping things moving. Once in the future, 4 mana. Basically, when you lay it, you are able to get return a card from your graveyard to the hand, put up to 1 other target card from your graveyard on top of your library, but if there's at least 3 green mana spent to cast a spell, instead return those cards to your hand. So you can get 2 cards to your hand pretty easily. Regrowth. Pay 2, return target card from your graveyard to your hand. Dryad's Revival. Pay 3, return target card from your graveyard to your hand, and then also has flashback. Again, all of these are nice because since we're playing so many instants and sorceries, a lot of our good destruction pieces we can then bring back and then be able to play them again. Restock for 5 mana. Return 2 cards from your graveyard to your hand. Exile Restock. Timeless Witness does a similar thing when it enters. Return target card from your graveyard to your hand. Moving a slightly different direction, we have Wart the Raid Mother. When it enters, you create 2 1/1 red and green Goblin Warrior creature tokens, and each red or green instant or sorcery spell you cast has Conspire. As you cast a spell, you may tap 2 untapped creatures you control that share a color with it. When you do, copy it. So again, it's basically creating the combo for you. It's giving you those 2 creatures that are going to share the red or green color. So now when you cast your spells, you can copy them, or at least 1. And that is nice, because again, like I said before, this land destruction is kind of expensive, especially when sometimes you're taking out your own lands along the way. It's nice to get that additional value from these spells that you're casting. Speaking of additional value, Galvanoth, which is a giant beast that looks like a bug, but it's a 3/3. And at the beginning of your upkeep, you may look at the top card of your library. If it's an instant or sorcery, you may cast it without paying its mana cost. So you could get a free land destruction just at the start of your turn. The next I have Swella Ice Shaper. This thing is pretty strong. It's a 3 mana 2/4. And you can pay 3, tap, create a colorless snow artifact token named Icy Monolith with tap, add 1 mana of any color. So it's costing mana to do this. It costs at 3 to tap it, but it's creating a similar thing to the Meteorite, where again, it works with our commander's ability, where when you tap this, you are getting 2 mana out of it. So yes, it's slow. Yes, it's clunky, but it is creating those additional sources of mana for you. So it pairs perfectly with this deck. And then you can pay 8, tap, look at the top 4 cards of your library, you may cast a spell from among them without paying its mana cost, put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. How often are you going to do that? Probably not that often, because we don't have a lot of cards in there that are more than 8 mana that would make it worth paying 8 mana just to get a card for free. But it does kind of give you some card filtering. You get to go through 4 and choose what the best of them is. Next, I don't know if I want to call this a combo, but it's somewhat combo-ish, and it's super toxic. I have Kamal, Fist of Kroza. Once you get this bad boy down, it has pay 1 green, target land becomes a 1/1 creature until end of turn. It's still a land. And then you also can pay 5 creatures you control, get +3/+3, and gain trample until end of turn. So again, this is a way where you can win the game with combat damage. It's not all land destruction. That being said, this is primarily about land destruction, because what's it doing? You're paying 1, you're turning a land into a creature, and once said land is a creature, you then hit the board with a good old blasphemous act. So you've now turned all of your opponent's lands into creatures. You hit the blasphemous act, it destroys all creatures, and henceforth taking out all of their lands as well too. So pretty toxic. They won't love it, but there's nothing about this deck that was built for your opponents to love. And last of our value pieces, and this has immense value to you. We have the Mending of Dominaria. For 5 mana, it's a saga, and the first 2 lore counters, whatever you want to call them, on the saga say, put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard, then you may return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. We don't have a ton of creatures that are going to be going to our graveyard, but some. It will happen, so that's kind of nice. And then step 3, return all land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield and shuffle your graveyard into your library. This is so nice. A lot of our land destruction spells, or some of our most powerful ones, will force you to get rid of some of your own lands as well too. So this way you're now then getting them all back, and your opponents are left with nothing. Incredible. All right, and now we finally get into the meat and potatoes, what you've been waiting for, what makes this deck so toxic. All right, starting up, Winter's Grasp, 3 mana, destroy target land. Next, Fire of Orthnic, 4 mana, destroy target artifact or land. Creatures without flying can't block this turn. Nobody really cares about that last part. Destroy that land. A key, Blizzard Herder, 2 mana, and when it's put into a graveyard from play, each player sacrifices a land. So again, that does affect you, but it's a 2 mana 1/1, so you can get that out pretty quickly and start chewing out lands. Violent Impact, 4 mana, destroy target artifact or land. And again, I should say, not all of this is about land destruction. Sometimes your opponents do have pesky artifacts you don't want, so you can get rid of those as well too. Smashing Success, 4 mana, destroy target artifact or land. If an artifact is destroyed this way, create a treasure token. That can be kind of nice. Again, like I said, sometimes you want to take out an artifact, and you're getting that treasure token, which is going to tap for 2. Cool value for you. Ember Swallower, 4 mana for this elemental 4/5, and then you can pay 7 mana to do monstrosity 3, and if this creature isn't monstrous, put 3 +1/+1 counters on it and becomes monstrous, so it now becomes a 7/8, so that's a pretty huge creature for your opponents to deal with. And when it becomes monstrous, each player sacrifices 3 lands. So again, it does affect you, but it's going to hurt your opponents even more. Dwarven Driller for 4 mana. It's a 2/2. You can tap, destroy target land unless its controller has Dwarven Driller, do 2 damage to him or her. A lot of times they may choose to just take the damage because they don't want to lose their lands. But if they do choose to do that, you are going to keep doing damage to them, and that's going to kill them, which is another way for you to win the game without your opponents just scooping. Just throwing that out there. Lay Waste, 4 mana, destroy target land. Shocker. Mine Lair, 4 mana. You can pay 2 and tap, put a mine counter on target land. Whenever a land with a mine counter on it becomes tapped, destroy it. And when Lair leaves play, remove all mine counters from all lands. So that can be a nice way to keep putting those mine counters on the lands and make your opponents decide, okay, do I use this and lose it, or do I keep holding on to it? It slows them down. Wildfire for 6 mana. Each player sacrifices 4 land and it deals 4 damage to each creature. So in a lot of cases, that's going to be a board wipe. It's going to take out a lot of lands. In some cases, depending on how quickly you can get this down, it may completely reset everyone, but you have those artifacts out to keep making mana to keep things churning along. Flowstone Flood for 4 mana, destroy target land, but also has buyback. Pay 3 life and discard a card at random, and then you can, if you do, put Flowstone Flood into your hand instead of into your graveyard as part of the spell's effect. So that's a nice way to keep pulling that back and playing it over and over again. Waking the Trolls for 6 mana. It's another enchantment saga. First one, destroy target land. Number 2, put target land from a card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. Now, it doesn't specify that it has to be your graveyard, which is nice because we are obviously taking out our opponent's lands, and sometimes our opponents may have very nice non-basic lands that have a good effect that we want to get our grubby little mitts on. And number 3, choose target opponent if they have fewer lands than you, which most will. Create a number of 4/4 green troll warrior creature tokens with trample equal to the difference, which again can build up a nice little army for you, which you can then use to swing and do damage and win the game without your opponent scooping. Just throwing that out there. Next, Heirloom Shaman. Don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but for 3 mana, it's a 2/3, and if it's put into a graveyard from play, each player destroys a land. Creeping Mold, 4 mana, destroy target artifact, enchantment, or land. Reclaiming Vines, 4 mana, destroy target artifact, enchantment, or land. Hopefully you're picking up on what I'm putting down here, what's going on. Icefall, 4 mana, destroy target artifact or land. You can recover. When a creature is put into your graveyard from play, you may pay 2. If you do, return this card from your graveyard to your hand. So that's kind of a nice little thing there, way to keep bringing that back. Sunder from Within, 4 mana, destroy target artifact or land. For 4 more mana, we have Rubble Reading, destroy target artifact or land, and Scry 2. Some nice extra value there. Boombox. For 2 mana. It's an artifact. It does pay 6 to tap, so 8 mana in total. Tap it, sacrifice it, destroy up to 1 target artifact, 1 target creature, and 1 target land. So you do get quite a bit of value for that extra mana that you're spending there. Tremble, 2 mana, each player sacrifices a land. Desecration Plague, 4 mana, destroy target enchantment or land. Rain of Salt, 6 mana, destroy 2 target lands. Tectonic Helion, 7 mana for an 8/5 with haste, and when it attacks, each player who controls the most lands sacrifices 2 lands. Again, take out more lands right there. Wreak Havoc, 4 mana. Can't be countered by spells or abilities. Destroy target artifact or land. Acidic Slime, 5 mana for a 2/2 with Death Touch, which can be a nice little block or a creature to have, but when it enters the battlefield, you get a destroy target artifact, enchantment, or land. Again, sometimes an opponent has an enchantment you want to destroy. Not all of our land destruction has to be used for land destruction. That being said, we will use most of our land destruction for land destruction. All right, Roiling Terrain, 4 mana right here. Destroy target land, and then Roiling Terrain deals damage to land's controller equal to the number of land cards in that player's graveyard. This can be really powerful, especially later in the game once we've destroyed quite a few of our opponent's lands, and their graveyard starts to fill up with them. You can play that and hit them for quite a bit of damage. Earth Rift for 4 mana. It destroys target land, and it has flashback. Thoughts of Ruin, 4 mana. Each player sacrifices a land for each card in your hand. So that can take out quite a few lands, but also your lands as well. Seismic Spike, 4 mana. Destroy target land, add 2 mana to your mana pool, so you get some mana back to probably use to destroy more lands. Stone Rain, 3 mana, destroy target land. Honestly, as I was assembling this deck, I didn't even realize there was so much land destruction in Magic the Gathering. Really makes me think that somebody absolutely despises their opponents having any fun, and I'm here for it. Bend or Break, basically you make your opponent split their lands into 2 piles, and, well, really everybody has to split their lands into 2 piles, and then half gets discarded and half gets tapped. Orcish Settlers for 2 mana. You can pay XX and a red, tap, sacrifice it, and destroy X target lands. Boom or Bust. Either destroy all lands or destroy target land you control and a target land you don't control. Plunder. It's 5 mana, but you can suspend. Most of the time you'll suspend because that makes more sense to cast it that way. And you can destroy target artifact or land. Fall of Krug, I don't know how you pronounce that. 6 mana, choose target opponent, destroy target land that player controls, then deals 3 damage to that player and 1 damage to each creature they control. So that can be pretty strong right there. Pillage for 3 mana, destroy target artifact or land, it can't be regenerated. 4 mana for Tsunami. This is a little bit more limited, but nice effect. 4 mana, all islands in play are destroyed. Fun fact, we have no islands in our deck, so if you're playing against a mono blue player, goodness gracious, they are cooked. Really, anybody that has blue, this is going to be super strong and super irritating. Speaking of super irritating, Destructive Force for 7 mana. Each player sacrifices 5 land and deals 5 damage to each creature. So again, a board wipe and that land destruction. Magmatic Hellkite for 4 mana. We have a 4/5 with flying. When it enters, destroy target non-basic land an opponent controls. Its controller searches their library for a basic land, put it onto the battlefield, tap with a stun counter on it, then shuffles. That's really not even that bad. That's just, you know what, they were trying to get all fancy, play with non-basic lands. You're just going, no, 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 no. Play with a basic. Cool. And it's a 4/5 flyer, so you can swing for combat damage and win without your opponent scooping. Just saying. All right, Raise for 1 mana. When you cast it, you have to sacrifice a land, but then you also get to destroy target land. Molten Rain for 3 mana, destroy target land. If the land was non-basic, it deals 2 damage to that land's controller. Very nice. Demolish, 4 mana, destroy target artifact or land. And the last and final card of this deck used to be banned. Used to not even be able to use this, but now it's back and it's better than ever. Well, I can't say it's better than ever, but quite the way to swing a game. Worldfire. 9 mana. Exile all permanents, including lands. Exile all cards from all hands and graveyards, and each player's life total becomes 1. So this is a way that, you know, it doesn't give you any guarantee that you are going to win the game, but what it does do is it guarantees that this game is coming to an end very quickly because everybody's sitting there at 1, sitting there wide open. Whoever can rebuild and ping you for 1 the fastest, they are the winner. I will say on that note, it may be a good idea to put like a lightning bolt or something in here, something super cheap that you can pull out fast after hitting your Worldfire, or hope that you pull out fast. Again, your hand is gone, so it's hard to say what you're going to get, but that would be nice to hopefully swing in there quick and take out your opponents. That being said, let me know in the comments down below, what do you think? Are you with my friend and think this deck should not exist? Or are you like me and think, hey, Wizards printed these cards, we might as well put them to use? And if you do like toxic deck builds like this, make sure you like, subscribe, and ring that bell notification, because every Friday we are coming at you with brand new deck builds, each better than the one before it, believe it or not. And right now on screen, you're going to see a recommended video that I know you're going to enjoy, and I'll see y'all next time.